Well, afternoon or after evening, it's 5 o'clock. We're going to call our Grants Pass School District number 7 board meeting to order. We'll invite Gary to take his seat. He's tardy. We have a slip for you, Gary. Are we on and ready to go? Are we good with everything? Okay. So again, welcome this evening to our meeting. We'd like to call our meeting to order. We will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd invite each of you to stand and join with me in reciting the pledge. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so we'll start with our agenda this evening. Item 2.0, communications and presentation. Superintendent Cole, do we have any written communication?
We do not, but I will have one brief superintendent report to precede item 5.0.
Okay. We'd like to remind anyone that if they wish to speak at our meeting tonight to any of the agenda items, you may fill out a blue card and bring that to us. Or if you're online, you may submit a question in the chat. And Director Bloomquist will monitor that for us and let us know if there's any other questions. Item 3.0 is our consent agenda. We have a number of items on there, and we will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda from the board.
Member Kuhlman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right. So item 4.0 are reports. 4.1, ready for kindergarten. So we will turn the time over to Annie Blanchard and team.
I'm sharing your screen.
I'm looking at my ducklings, like the team better be following me because I'm just the introducer. So we have a program that I've talked to you in the past called Ready for Kindergarten, and it's a parent education program that we started a number of years ago. And so I asked some of our staff members who present that program if they would come and present to you, because we were able to do it again this year after a couple of year hiatus. So we have Annie Blanchard, Olivia Escajas, Karen Jochimson, and Jill Gove, who are going to do a much better job than I would. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Hi there. I am Karen Jochimson, and you just retired me, but I am coming back next year. Anyway, it's my job to introduce to you the Ready for K program, and it is a research-based parenting course for kids from birth to age 5. Obviously, as kindergarten teachers, we do the 4 and 5-year-old phase of it. Each of the 3 sessions includes 3 parts that are all equally as important. There is a social emotional, literacy, and a math component. We use the analogy of a 3-legged stool, and we just say, if you take off one of those legs, the stool is going to fall. So it's not just academic based, but we really hit that social emotional piece as well. We focus on the whole child. Our purpose is to build relationships and make connections with the families, and then have the families make connections with their child. So it's not just come in, let us teach you how to teach your child. We want them to learn through games and that are research-based, and it's very hands-on. It's a night where the parents dig into the kits. We have a kit right there. I think, anyone doing slides? Todd with the slides. If you could go, there is a slide that shows the ready tools. Like I say, we go through those with the parents. They open up their tools. We go through them with them, and they actually learn how to play games with their child. And as I said, all of those things go home that night. For many parents, kindergarten has changed a lot from when they were in school. And these nights really help to shift their mindset as to what kindergarten is all about now. So one thing that we do show at the orientation is a Ready for Kindergarten video that we're going to show for you now. It's a little bit daunting, but it also really shows the importance of learning even before they come to kindergarten. So thank you.
Any kindergarten teacher can tell you, children do not start school with the same language and literacy skills. On day 1 of kindergarten, there is a 5-year range. Out of every 10 children, 2 enter kindergarten with language and literacy skills 2 to 3 years below grade level, 2 enter 1 year behind, and 2 enter at grade level. The top 4 children will start 1 to 2 years above grade level. Most parents believe children who start behind will catch up within a year or 2, but that is not the reality. Students who are 1 to 3 years behind typically make a year's worth of growth each year, just like all students. But the bad news is they're still 1 to 3 years behind grade level. Closing a learning gap once a child begins school is costly and difficult because the child needs to achieve their normal year of growth plus another year of growth to catch up by even a single level. The data is clear. All children can and will improve, but most will never catch up to their classmates. And this has a lifelong impact. The highest performing students have an 81% chance of going to a 4-year university and only a 6% chance of dropping out of high school. But the lowest group of students has almost no chance of going to a 4-year university and a 55% chance of dropping out of high school. This means every child's kindergarten starting point matters. The good news is there is something you can do about it. Communities, schools, caregivers, and parents all have a role to ensure children are ready for school on day 1. A child's learning from birth to age 5 determines their kindergarten starting point. It is in those early years that the readiness gap before kindergarten is created, and from the time a child is born until age 5, home is the easiest place to change a child's academic trajectory.
Is very heavy for some of our families to sit and listen to. But the reason we share that is the Ready for Kids program is so our families really understand that we have to work together. So it's not these courses and then it's going it's truly teaching them how to intentionally play and interact with the child. And up here we have my like this, but that's really far away. So hopefully you can get even doing ready for 2016, and we had about 50 families come attend. And we set out to just say, if we can reach one family, then that's a huge success for us. And this year, obviously, we had 2 years to COVID, but this year we had 90 families attend. And that'd be great. Mainly, that our teachers and administrators love to see data, so we have data over the years. So we have at the bottom of the screen is our Acadians data, and so we highlighted the top of the arc there actually it's like right in the middle, that 61, the students that scored 61 on their fall Acadians reading test were kids that have attended preschool other than Head Start, and they have gone to Ready. So the students that performed at the top of that arc were the students that had preschool and went to Ready session. The students that were at the bottom of the arc had no Ready sessions, no preschool, or no Head Start. The interesting information is the students in the middle at 53 that scored 53 were students that had gone to a preschool program but no Ready. So over on the far right, I should have highlighted the 58. The students that scored a score of a 58, which was above that went to preschool, just attended one Ready session, which was, for us, we're like, yes, this truly does work. And we get to be in the library with these families, seeing them build those connections. So not only does the data show that it does work. We see families working and engaging with other families. They get to see the school building. Their children are in another room and on the playground with other peers that they're going to be going to school with before school even starts. We walk around and watch these families interact and teach practice the games together. And Liv walked over in one of the tables. She said, well, what are you guys learning about this? Can you tell me something way that you do this at home? And they said, well, sorry, we were exchanging phone numbers. We love that. That's what we want to do. We want these families to connect and create this community before we even step in. It allows us to have a sneak peek of these kiddos before they come to us. There were some red flags and kiddos that we were like, oh, we need to meet with families ahead of time and get some things in place. So it really allowed us to get some things in place before these kids start school. We had the highest percentage of dad participation for most of the parent involvement activities that we had. So lots of dads are there participating. You just get to build a community of learners before the school doors open in September. All right, I'm going to pass it on to Liv.
Can you go to the next slide, Todd? Can you hit the next? Oh.
It just takes a second. Yeah.
Oh, and this just tags along with what Andy was saying. You can see here that there's families that are playing together. At the last session, we actually bring the kiddos back in and we get to watch them interact. And we can see parents using those skills. And it just gives us such great insight on the families before we even have them in our classroom. So it's really powerful. If you could hit the next slide. So as you can see, we all really believe in this program and we know that Ready changes families and it builds better connections with them and gives them more intentional play and purposeful time together. And so we really have a vision for Ready to expand in our community. And if we could wave a magic wand tonight, it would be every single family just comes to Ready as a district norm. It's what everybody is expected to do and something that they look forward to before kindergarten. And so it just gives these families a chance to have a low pressure setting to meet us, to meet other school staff, to see what their school building looks like, peek around. And it's just an opportunity to make those connections with other families too, which we spoke on before. And so every year we have families ask us, what can I be doing with kiddos that are older? Or how can I use this for a younger sibling? And that's when we feel we really make a difference. I had a mom this year. She was at home reading a book with a different intention. And she has a younger child at home who's pretty nonverbal, really reluctant to communicate. And she's reading with her 5-year-old in a different way. And her 3-year-old comes and jumps in her lap and she sends me a message. She's like, I cannot believe how much my child was talking and wanted to get involved and wanted to point to all these things. And she could see him learning from what she was doing with her older child. So we know that this makes families stronger no matter what the ages of the kiddos. And so our big goal, Todd, if you could hit it again, this program, as Karen had mentioned, is intended to be birth to 5. So if we could even get one more age group in there and we could be meeting with 3- and 4-year-old families, the pipe dream would be that as soon as you leave the hospital, we're calling you up. Don't forget to sign up for Ready for K, because we know that it really is that important that we are, as Amy said, we don't want this to be a crash course. And sometimes it feels like that for families when they're getting this information this spring. They're like, oh no, what have I done wrong this whole time? And that is not the intention. It's to empower families so that they're making that intentional change. And if they can know this from the beginning, then they won't feel like they're under a crash course. They'll just know that this is how their family can run and they can have all those tools in their toolbox right away.
Okay, so the next 2 slides are mine. So if we navigate to the next slide, I am not a kindergarten teacher and they deserve medals. My role as a specialist. And I was thrilled to partner in my building for Ready for K for families. So transition planning is something I believe in, and I think if you know what's coming, you prepare differently. If you know you're going camping, you put different things in your backpack than you would if you were going to tour the big city. To me, that's what Ready for K is for families, sharing what's coming and helping them prepare with all the necessary tools. So one of my favorite things about the Ready for K program is it prepares the whole child. In addition to fun hands-on literacy and math activities, the program also includes skills to prepare students to be socially emotionally ready. So what that looks like is, are you able to accept direction from an adult that's not your parent? Can you transition from one activity to the next? How do you handle disappointment when you don't get to be the line leader? All of those things help you become prepared for a different environment than where you've been. And so I think that's a strength of the Ready for K program as well. Next slide. So this is some feedback from parents, and you'll notice that games is very prominent because it is focused around intentional play. So instead of telling parents, these are the skills we wish every kid would know when they enter kindergarten, we show them and we play with them. And so when the parents gave feedback about how did you like Ready for K, or what are you going to take away from this, it was about games and intentional play with their children, which I thought really illustrates the point. The Early Learning Network cites research that when parents and teachers partner together, children's work habits, attitudes, and grades improve, and students demonstrate better social skills, fewer behavior problems, and a greater ability to adapt to situations. And if the past 2 years has taught us nothing, it's that we need the ability to adapt. And so I think Ready for K is just a really strong example of that family-school collaboration.
So this program, sorry, I swallowed on nothing, wrong. We offered at all 6 schools, so all of our kindergarten teachers participate in being the teachers to the parents. And then this year we opened it up, offered it up to Title I teachers, behavior intervention specialists like Jill, and principals. And so like I know Nevin Van Manen at Highland was one of the teachers at Highland. So again, just bringing more people into the fold and having a team approach with that. And I do want to call out a little bit Olivia and Annie, because not only are they like the official trainers for Grants Pass and helped kind of organize and spearhead that for us here with our teachers over the last few years, they have also done that training with a number of teachers in other districts. They've trained teachers in Medford, Three Rivers, Central Point. Eagle Point was the big one this year. Eagle Point jumped on and had their first session last week ever. And so, and probably maybe some other schools. So because of their great organizational skills, teaching skills, and influence, it is moving out over the whole region. So just wanted you to know that, and a little something extra proud to be of them. So do you have any questions?
Well, I want to say that years ago, I got to see Annie and Olivia do this. I was there for Project Youth Plus when it was College Dreams. I got to kind of see it in action. It was awesome.
Susan, I thought you always told me it was 100% reading at grade 3, but now it looks like maybe we should be shooting for 100% grade level at kindergarten.
No, you heard wrong. 100% parent participation before they get to us. That's what we're shooting for.
So I do have a couple questions if none of the other board members do. First off, I appreciate your warmth and bubbliness. I remember back in high school taking calculus. We need a few kindergarten teachers to be teaching calculus. So if you'd like to make the transition, that would be great. But 2 questions. So how are you advertising this to the community? I mean, you said you wanted newborns as they leave the hospital, so I do have some influence there, and I'm just curious, do you talk to the pediatricians in the community? How do you spread the word so that parents can be aware of these types of things? And maybe we can talk offline. Maybe I can be helpful in partnering with getting the word out and some information. I was impressed with some of the data that you presented. It is scary to think that children who enter kindergarten who are unprepared do not then really have a chance in this world to go to college or progress, and that is very concerning to me. And that leads to my next question. So we had 2 years without any intervention. What are we doing as a district, as elementary teachers maybe, to assess where our 2 years of kindergarten students are at? Because they didn't have much of any preparation. And what does that look like in 16 years when they're 18 or, when they're heading off to college here in 12 years? And so I'm just curious, I know we've talked about this. I want to know from you, though, what are we doing to look at that 2-year gap and how are we addressing some of those issues?
Well, I'll answer the first one because it's easier. So the reason for advertising purposes, when we started Ready for K, our first question was, well, how do we know who to advertise to? Because we don't know who those families are. They're not already in our system. And if you remember, traditionally, when we did kindergarten registration, it was in May. And so the whole reason for moving to 1st of March registration, which is now called Kinder Launch, was for this program, so that we would get those parents, their names, their contact information, and then be able to advertise to them. Outside of that, we work with early intervention, Head Start. We have a list of all of the local childcare and preschool providers if they have registered with the ESD. So we have that list that we send our flyers to for Launch and Ready for K, as well as Head Start, early intervention, and our local pediatric offices. So that's what we do currently for that. Then the data question, I'm going to let, do you want to?
Yeah, we can share, because I think that this year, our kinders, when we assess them probably next week, we'll see where they started in the fall, and then we'll see where they ended. But truly in kindergarten, you have to meet the kids where they're at. And this year, it was a hot mess. I'm just going to put it lightly, we have never, ever in our entire life, 31 years of teaching, 18 age, seen some of the things that we have had to figure out, and you can't dismiss them. These are little humans, and they're so impactful, and what we do matters. They've been locked in homes and on Zoom screens, and parents are busy working and stressed out, and parents they're not intended to be teachers in this way. And so we're trying to put the ball back in the parents' court. And so as far as looking at the data, I think this year's group of kinders is really going to kind of set the stage as far as our standards moving forward, because this group, we can't send them on to first grade and say, okay, you're going to read 120 words per minute when we're reading 28 correct letter sounds by the end of the year, and we're meeting benchmark. So there has to be something district-wide that we are really going to have to assess. Our kids and teachers are going to have to be uncomfortable. It's been really uncomfortable for us. Administrators, understanding like you're going to come in and we might not be in the same place at this time of year that we were previously. So I think there's just going to have to be a lot of grace and really looking at the data. And as long as we're making growth and we're being intentional about how we're grouping those kids so they can be in the best possible situation for learning, we would love to reach out to like All Care and some of our community partners that we know have funds to be able to, because right now I feel like we're kind of band-aiding some of these things because we can't get to the root of it and really get these babies from the, maternity ward to, their home. The classroom. So we're just trying to do that.
We've also had to shift, like, when we think about this year's second grade cohort, just in many buildings, we've had to shift our supports based on need, and we have seen an impact. Our second grade cohort, our first grade cohort are showing gaps that our current fifth grade cohort isn't showing, and so we're able to respond to them, and we're putting resources in that area in hopes that we're able to close what we have lost. And it's not going to be a 1 year or 2 year fix, but we're seeing a different impact on our younger cohorts.
Well, and whereas our aides, we've all typically gotten a classroom aide to come in, and like my students were at a point where I didn't need that aide, so I pushed my aide into the other classrooms. And just today, it was like, it's making a difference. These kids are improving. So it was a mindset shift for us that I'm entitled to my aide time. It's not my aide time, it's our student aide time. And we're a team and all these kids are our kids. And so I think we just have to come out of this pandemic and just look at them like they are all our kids. And I think Ready really does address that.
Yeah, we're doing everything we can. We're problem solving. We're already outside the box thinkers. Yeah. And we're thinking way outside the box now and sharing resources and just working our butts off every single day. That's all we gotta do and the kids deserve it.
I think one thing that we are fortunate as kindergarten teachers, we are used to kids coming in like this. Other grades, not as much, because we as kindergarten teachers, hopefully close that gap a little bit as a kindergarten teacher. I think the older the kids get in the elementary level, the harder it is for those teachers to adapt. Number one, they haven't had the practice adapting like we have, and having to differentiate. So I do feel like as kindergarten teachers, even though they did come in so low, we've had really low kids in the past. So I feel a little bit like we're fortunate because we have experienced that before this year, because we get kids who've never been in school and we have kids who are reading chapter books and we say, welcome. We will challenge all of you. So I feel fortunate in that way.
The data clearly shows that, like they said, it's not the same. Kids aren't in the same place that they have been, but that doesn't just mean academics. It's not just about do they know their letters. If it's just about academics, I have complete confidence in every single one of our teachers to take care of that issue. Not in a year, though. I've said this before. It was a multi-year problem. It's going to be a multi-year fix. The greater issue is the socialization. And that has to come first. If a child cannot sit for more than 30 seconds and listen to anyone, sometimes including their parent, well, there's some things that have to be worked through before they're going to be able to, fully engage in the instruction. So.
Thank you for all that you're doing. We appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight. All right, we'll go on to 4.2, the Gladiola Way. Principal Shunk and students.
I like students.
That helps. That's why we're here.
I like when they come participate.
Okay, before we get to the most important part of this presentation, and that's introducing these two wonderful humans behind me, I'm going to give you a little background on the Gladiola Way. So the Gladiola Way, the staff and Director Evans and Director Bloomquist they've done a lot of work the last few years training our staff on ACEs, average childhood experiences, trauma-informed practices, a lot of work with Blodgett, and this is the next evolution of that. Some feedback from staff after those trainings was, okay, we've got the foundation, how do we put the rubber to the road? What's practical? What can we actually roll out, have with students in front of students to get them moving with this stuff? We understand how to support them. What can we do to move forward with this? And so the district prioritized getting all staff trained, everybody at Gladiola, classified and certified staff trained on this program. And so we spent about a week over the summer, and some representatives from North and South Middle School came over. Keith Jaroslav came over, and some of the freshman support team and got trained too. So it's starting to kind of permeate throughout the district, which is great. The Gladiola Way at its root is a concrete skill-based curriculum that creates positive change in students and in communities. The main objectives are to develop a strong sense of community and establish positive support systems for all students. So it's an intentional way of creating our learning community. And you'll see later in the presentation when we share some of the data and the feedback in our Youth Truth results, there are quite a few metrics at Gladiola that there is not a school in the state of Oregon that scored higher than we did. So our little alt-ed high school here in Grants Pass, Oregon, there's 8 or more metrics that we scored the highest in the state on, which is pretty cool. So let that sink in for a little bit, because it gives me the heebie-jeebies when I think about it. So another technical term. Second, to teach, practice, and provide feedback on positive social skills and future workplace skills, and to reinforce the culture of
classroom in school, and ensure that all students realize what is expected of them, what they can expect from staff. So it calibrates staff and how we interact and how our communication, kind of our vocabulary, and students know what they can expect from us. So as they move from classroom to classroom, there's stability, there's consistency, there's understanding the rules and the regulations and the guidelines and kind of the protocols in the classrooms are generally similar from class to class. So they don't have to change themselves to the teacher's personality. They can find stability of what those expectations are in each classroom. Director Bloomquist, would you do the honors at the next slide? Some of the things that it teaches, it starts with critical thinking, problem solving, collaborative group work, anger management, how to self-advocate, how to resolve conflict, some self-care, and also workplace employability skills. So in Southern Oregon, there's a workplace employability rubric, and these are correlated with that. So our goal is not just to teach them the important things of slope-intercept form and independent dependent variable in the Board of 1812, but actually when they leave us and they graduate, move on to be successful in whatever path they choose. So being able to work in a group, being able to identify and control your anger and use tools, being able to be a critical thinker, problem solver, whatever career they pick, these are going to help serve them with that. We've put it in place as an onboarding program. So all students must pass the Gladiole, 70% or better, to enter our learning community. So first, we got training at the beginning or the end of the summer. First and second quarter, teachers and staff were working on planning this and rolling it out, how we're going to integrate it into our culture. We were very intentional with it, had a lot of stakeholders involved. We've also run this program previously through Resolve for the restorative justice aspect to it. And Resolve came back and said, this is a masterclass in restorative practices. This is the next evolution of what they're trying to get into schools in Southern Oregon. So this is the masterclass in restorative practices. Out of about 90 students, 85 make the 70% or better, which is pretty amazing. We'll share some of that data too. And like I mentioned earlier, all teachers are calibrated on expectations, the community agreements, and kind of the discipline process. And discipline kind of has a negative connotation to it, but our kind of accountability process. We've been able to support a lot of student behaviors and concerns this year with mental health support, working through behavior plans before we have to move to discipline and consequences. So we give students an opportunity to try to change behavior and own what they did, make it right, and move forward before we move to traditional things like suspensions and expulsions and stuff. So it's been a big cultural change this year, and a lot of appreciation to the teachers and staff and directors at the district office and the board for supporting this work. You'll see some of the results later that it is beautiful, needed work. If you would do the next slide. So the core tenets of the Gladiola Way, it's called the Discovery Program, but we dubbed it the Gladiola Way. And because this is us, who we are as our community. We're the 6 Ps. We're prompt. So picture this through a workplace employability lens also. We're prompt. We're going to show up on time. We're going to be ready to do school. We're going to be ready to work. We're going to be whatever it is. We're prepared mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared for the day. You got a decent night's sleep. You got some breakfast. We taught students about front loading was a key skill. If you had an argument with your parents that morning or a significant other and you're coming in and you're a little escalated, we taught them how to get in touch with their anger and use the tools and front load that and share that with them. So instead, they're not going into algebra class in processing the argument they had with their folks that morning. They're able to get support at the school and go and feel comfortable at the front desk and say, I just had a really bad morning, I need some support. And we'll get them with our therapist or counselor and get them de-escalated, get them some support, and then ready to school. We get them in school. So we've had a lot less blowouts, people angry, kind of leaving class and leaving campus. We've had a lot of students accessing our mental health supports, which has been a beautiful thing. We're polite, we're just kind to each other. You can boil this down to show up, do the work, and be a kind person. That's it. And if you can follow those things in life, you can be pretty successful. So we're going to be polite to each other. We address, what you don't address, you condone, and you say is okay. So if someone's negative, we address it. If someone says something negative to somebody else, we address it. We hit everything head on. Nothing goes under the rug. Positive mental attitude, we're in the business of lifting each other up, not pushing each other down. So we're going to stay positive. There's so much stress, trials, and tribulations out in the world outside of our protected bubble at Gladiola that we're not going to bring it on campus. We're going to be positive with each other. We're going to give each other love and support. We don't care what your background is, if you're, black, white, straight, Puerto Rican, Asian, gay, trans, rich, poor, anything in between. Everyone is welcome at Gladiola. We just care that you're a kind person. We all have the same value as human beings, regardless of our background. We are all valuable human beings, and we're going to be kind to each other. We participate. When you show up, you don't get to be a bump on the log in the back of class. It's time to participate. At work, you can't clock in and go hang out in the dairy cooler for 2 hours and take a nap. You got to get to work. And then last thing, we grade you on what you produce. So now if we like your hair color or what hat you wore that day, we just grade you on what you produce. And a lot of I know the directors have a lot of patience with me, and hopefully thank you for just grading me on what I produce. I appreciate it. Not my colorful, actually, you know who made this beautiful shirt? This one right here. I got more compliments on the shirt than any other article of clothing in my 45 years of existence, which is pretty cool. Okay, so next slide, I'm going to introduce Bella. Tegan is not able to make it, and actually he used front loading today. They had a family thing, and he had to drive a family member to the airport, but he got a hold of me first thing in the morning and let me know he couldn't be here, and he was really apologetic, and that's front loading. Didn't just know, he let me know first thing this morning. So shout out to Tegan, and he's got a statement to read. So we'll start with Bella.
So my name is Isabella Campa. I'm a sophomore, and I started going to Gladiola around like the end of my freshman year. And like Chuck was saying, we learned about the Gladiola Way this year. It was like over our like 9-week period of like our quarter time length. So the Gladiola Way I feel like has really helped me a lot, and I feel like a lot of people I've talked to that have also like goes to Gladiola, I feel like it has helped them too. We learned about a lot of communication skills and anger management skills, and the thing is that they weren't just used in like Gladiola, they could also be used outside. They could be used like in work or with your family, so that was like really helpful. I feel like Gladiola in general has helped me a lot because I never really felt comfortable anywhere else, but Gladiola has made me feel comfortable, the teachers and the students, just everyone. So very thankful to be a part of Gladiola. And I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Hi, I'm Caden Williamson. I started going to Gladiola this year. I went here the 3 years prior to that, played football, sports, whatnot. Plenty of friends, didn't feel accepted, never had a problem with bullying. Went to all the same schools all my life, lived in the same house, same friends from kindergarten all the way up to senior year. And then I found myself in a position where I had fallen not enough credits to graduate. It was 10 credits away from graduating senior year. And I decided with Holly Hayes, the counselor that used to be here, that I should go over to Gladiola. I found myself in a position for the first time in my life that I was scared, something new, because I never had felt something new. It was always the same. It was always the same people. I was always safe. And I remember within the first week, I found out I loved it. I was always comfortable. I felt accepted, and that's coming from someone that's always felt accepted. I never felt like an outcast. And there, they just made it twice as much. Everyone feels friendly. I feel like I'm excelling. I feel like they give me the opportunity to see people different these days. Haven't always been the most accepting person. I lived my life with a different than me. I see them different. These days, going to Gladiola, everybody around me I see as the same person. And I walk around with a smile on my face, and I can attribute that mostly to Gladiola and the way they've treated me and the way they turned my life around to be a happy person and set to graduate and take off Universal Technical Institutes in July. Gladiola Way was definitely different. I thought about it when I started talking about that, sticking in the same class for 3 periods sucks. 3 hours with the same people, same teacher. Then we started doing it. It was fun. We had activities every day. I found myself, we were doing a lot of work. They made it seem easy because they found a good balance between doing other things and working really hard to getting our stuff done. It was credits I needed in class, so I found myself working as hard as I could on it. And it seemed new, so I expected it to be a little wonky. But as we went, it was smooth. I loved it. And every day we did a circle where everyone would sit around in the morning, and we would rate our day 1 to 10, and we would say something like there'd be a question. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? And I saw slowly through the few months that we did it, kids that sit in the back corner and talk to anybody in those morning circles, I would see them getting louder, more excited to get their turn to talk. And I think Gladiola really did a good job of opening up the world to these kids. Me, I've always been outgoing, not afraid to talk to people. But these kids that work might have had trouble in their childhood, might have not been accepted, might have came out as gay, had a few parents, few family members that told them off. But Gladiola definitely made them feel safe and comfortable and gave them the pride to live their life. So I wish everybody could see Gladiola through my eyes, because I know some of you see it as a bad school. It has a bad rap. A lot of years of bad kids going there as a secondary school for kids that just can't make it in the Grants Pass way. But if you could see it through my eyes, you'd see the beauty of the campus, and you would see the love and the support that the teachers have. And thank you for this opportunity to tell you how I see it.
Gonna make me cry, Kaden and Bella. All right, so Tegan typed up a statement. I'll read it for him. Tegan Ziegler. I'm not Tegan Ziegler. This is Tegan Ziegler's statement. He's a junior at Gladiola, and he started to go to Gladiola the second semester of this school year. It meant a lot to him. It showed him how to deal with different people and their different personality types. Also taught him how to deal with his anger. They had a whole 9-week, 3-period class to teach about things like that. Taught him how to manage that anger and how to support people and understand people with different personality types. So, in all honesty, Gladiola has helped me a lot. Before, during the last few years, he really wasn't doing school, and he had 0 credits. And now he's back on track to graduate, and if he keeps working hard, maybe even graduate early. Gladiola makes him feel like he has a second family. The entire Gladiola staff is insanely friendly. Not insane and friendly, but insanely friendly. Thanks, Tegan. The teachers help you with everything you need, and he was happy to share this opportunity with everybody to share. So that's great. We're here for the kiddos, and our kiddos at Gladiola are amazing. They're beautiful, amazing human beings, and they thrive with us, and it's the teachers and the staff. They really come out of whatever shells or protective bubbles they have themselves in, and they start to feel hope and optimism, and that's what our job is, to get them supported and up and running for whatever life throws at them in the future. If you would, next slide, please. So we've got pass rates, looking at data. I love looking at data because how can you tell otherwise how effective a program is? And we started early Q1 and Q2. The teachers and staff there do an amazing job. And here's our Q1 course performance at Gladiola. And this is students who were failing 2 or more classes. And it's pretty low. We did some other things with scheduling this year and incomplete grades and some other strategies to try to work on this. So even this one, Q1, was a big improvement. And if you look, there's very little difference between our different kind of underrepresented populations there. If you go to the next one, please. Q3, this is after Gladiola Way. Q3 was a full rollout, all school-wide Gladiola Way rollout. And if you look at this, it's pretty stellar. There is no differences between our SPED, EL, or homeless population at all. 0 students failing 2 or more classes. It's amazing. It is beyond statistically significantly impactful with our community. If you do the next slide, please. And I don't want to steal Director Evans' thunder because she is going to be speaking about Youth Truth here next. But just so you can read the results, if you see that big orange bar there, that's national results. So where you place on that kind of continuum, on that orange continuum is where you place nationally. The black bar underneath is our Oregon schools cohort. So where we're compared to with other schools in our Oregon cohort, there's hundreds of schools in all different regions and rural and urban and higher socioeconomic status and lower that are on this. And so we're compared with our Oregon cohort. And that little black line on the black bar is the median where we're at. So pay attention to where we're at compared to the other Oregon schools and the median, please. Next slide, please, sir. By the way, I love your shirt, Director Bloom, but it's beautiful. Not as beautiful as mine, Bella, but okay. So, I digress. These are the aggregated kind of overall, each of these are different categories. And there's multiple questions within these categories, and I'll go through some of these later in a little bit more detail. But if you look at the first one, engagement, we're 88th percentile nationwide, and if you see that black bar there, Oregon schools, there is no school in the engagement category that scored higher than Gladiola High School in the state of Oregon. And if you see that little black median line there, about 30%, we're in the 88th percentile. The average school in Oregon scored the 30th percentile. Academic challenge, so a worry with alternative education schools is you lower the bar for students. Our challenge is to keep the bar high and provide supports to help students get over that bar. Not lower the bar to make it easier, but to lift them up and support them over the bar. So 89th percentile towards the very top of the spectrum in Oregon. Culture, 89th percentile towards the top of the spectrum. Belonging and peer collaboration, 97th percentile nationwide in the U.S. No school scoring higher than us in the state of Oregon on belonging and peer collaboration. Next slide, please. Relationships, 89th percentile nationwide, near the top. College and career readiness was an area we identified we need to work on, and that's in our goals and what we're working on for next year. We're building the foundation first. We don't want to start building a house on quicksand. And there's a beautiful foundation there and a beautiful culture that the wonderful Kelly Marvel before me and the staff there has built. There's a strong foundation. We're making sure that's shored up before we build on top of it, and that's where we're going next, is working so we can support students like Caden, who's going to Arizona in July to go make probably more than just about everybody in this room with no student loans. So good for Caden. Caden, remember us. When you're rich and famous, Caden, remember us. Same with you, Bella. Come back and donate to our school. Thank you. Shameless plug. Emotional and mental health, 93rd percentile nationwide, which is amazing, considering one of the general understandings of many students in all ed is that they've had additional trials and tribulations to overcome. So for them to feel that they have strong emotional and mental health at Gladiola is impressive. And then diversity, equity, and inclusion, Caden spoke really clearly about it also. We have a very diverse, inclusive environment, and that is hugely important to us. We protect that at all costs. Everyone is welcome at our school if they're going to be a kind person. All right, so there's a few more I wanted to go into here. Some specifics. This is our list of metrics where no school in Oregon scored higher than Gladiola, which is really cool. So I'm going to brag about our staff and our students here real quick. And this is from the students. We had parent and staff responses also, but for me, the word from the students is that's what we're going after. So we'll start. I enjoy school most of the time, 96th percentile. And this is, keep in mind to give some context, this Youth Truth survey we took about the 7th week of Gladiola Way. So students are deep into the Gladiola Way, and they're kind of, that's the sweet spot where the early adopters are already on board, the late adopters are getting there, so everybody should be on our Gladiola Way train by this point. I enjoy school most of the time. 96th percentile, no school higher in Oregon than us. What I learn in class helps me outside of school, as Bella mentioned. 95th percentile nationwide, no school in Oregon higher than us. My teachers give me assignments that help me to better understand the subject. 93rd nationwide, no school higher than us. Most of my classes, we learn to correct our mistakes. 96th percentile, no school higher than Gladiola in the state of Oregon. I feel safe during school. 96th percentile nationwide. Kids feel safe at Gladiola. Parents reported that also. 97% percentile said that they feel safe sending their kids to our school, which is amazing. I love that. Adults from my school respect people of different races and ethnicities, 94th percentile nationwide. When talking to adults from my school, I feel comfortable talking about my sexual orientation, 91st percentile nationwide, well above the Oregon median. I really feel like part of my school's community, 96th percentile nationwide, no school scored higher than us. Most students at the school are friendly to me, 96, no school higher than us. How often do you work with other students for your classes, even when your teacher doesn't ask you to tell you to, 94th percentile, no school higher than Gladiola. How many of your teachers connect what you're learning in class with your life outside of school, 92nd percentile nationwide, highest in the no school higher than us in Oregon. And the last one, and this is huge, when I'm feeling upset, stressed, or having problems, there is an adult in school who I can talk to about it. 96th percentile nationwide, no school higher than us in Oregon. Part of that being with a teacher for 3 periods a day as onboarding is you get connected with them and you get connected with your tribe of people in class. You have an adult that cares about you, that knows who you are, knows if you're not there, and is going to track you down if you're not there. You've got other kids in class, like Caden mentioned, that maybe in a large comprehensive high school you normally wouldn't come across. But you get to become friends with people outside of your friend group and outside of maybe your cultural background, your norm. And you get to see the beauty of life and the beauty of humanity in other people that maybe you wouldn't normally get to know. And that's our culture at Gladiola. Thank you.
Any comments from our board?
I forgot there might be questions. Sorry, I'm outside. Any questions?
When does the Gladiola Way start at Grants Pass?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person.
How many students do you guys serve?
It depends. We have Gladiola and other programs, GPAS for middle school and high school, Bridges PM. Our GED program is really successful. And so overall, Gladiola, we're kind of capped right at 100, and we try to target students that either with social emotional concerns, maybe social anxiety, coming to a 1,700 student high school is difficult, but also especially coming out of the last 2 years of the pandemic, we're really focusing on juniors and seniors that are behind in credits and could use some help getting reconnected with school and getting caught up. And we as an alt-ed high school right now, we've been fluctuating right around 85% attendance all year, which sharing with some other principal contemporaries in other districts is good for a comprehensive high school and is stellar. The other alt-ed high schools I've communicated with are about 30% average attendance below us. So kids feel safe, they feel happy, they feel welcome, they feel what we're teaching them is relevant to not just school but in life, and so they're showing up. And if they're not showing up, we're calling and coming to their house and making sure they show up.
Excellent. Thank you.
We try all the sugar we can first before we have to go to the bakery.
Go to their house.
So in our programs, and the goal is that Gladiola we have a defensible culture there. So students that do come over to maybe GPAS for discipline issues, the goal is to, instead of being there for a year, waiting for an expulsion to expire or something, the goal is to give them a shot, kind of get them dialed in for a quarter, and give them a shot at coming over to Gladiola, having really clear intentions beforehand. We're giving you an early shot at getting back in the community. If you're going to show up, do the work, and be a kind person, we're going to support you all the way through. So at the beginning of this third quarter, we had 7 students that were in our GPAS program under expulsions. that we brought over to Gladiola quarter 3, 6 out of 7 of them are still in our community, passed their classes, and are engaged, showing up, and are on track to graduate. So it creates opportunities for students that otherwise wouldn't be able to be engaged and make progress. It's a valuable seat to be at Gladiola. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yep.
So you said hi. So you said you started this curriculum at the beginning of the school year. Are you going to do that again next year?
Yeah, so it's integrated into our culture now. First and second quarter during late starts, teachers were planning it. We rolled out a few things, the 6 Ps, early at the beginning of the year. And so third quarter we did it school-wide. Fourth quarter, first and third quarter are kind of our big entry points because Grants Pass High School is on semesters. And so we're planning usually first and third quarter to have 2 teachers doing Gladiola Way, and all the teachers are trained. They all have access to Canvas and the curriculum, so they're going to rotate. So every teacher is kind of helping onboard students. First and third quarter, we should have 2 teachers doing it, which should enable us to onboard about 40 students each first and third quarter. Second and fourth quarter are not the big kind of transfer points, so we have 1 teacher. So we should have the capacity to onboard, our whole school worth of students over the course of a year with that plan. So also special recognition to our office staff and academic and mental health counselors for trying to figure out how to integrate this huge program into our school and have it be a seamless part of the culture. So we were able to do from training in August to planning and full rollout in January, which is pretty quick turnaround. So that's a testament to the heart that our staff has to support kids. So we're going to keep it up. It's working.
Yes.
So it's nerve-wracking sometimes, but it's working.
Sounds like it's worth it.
Well, thank you. Excellent work. We appreciate your efforts and all of your staff.
Thank you.
All right, 4.3, our Youth Truth Survey, Director Evans. And team, it looks like.
We're a team. And talk about 2 presentations that feed very nicely into a quick synopsis of our Youth Truth Survey for 2022. This was our 4th year giving the Youth Truth Survey, although middle school is the only level that did it all 4 years, and we'll explain a little bit more as we get started. Next slide. Why do we give surveys? Why do this stuff? Well, feedback's important. Tells us how we're doing. It helps us set goals and what we should be focused on. And then it also values the thoughts and opinions of our stakeholders. Students, staff, and families are participate in the Youth Truth Survey. And what really makes it valuable is us taking action. So when we share data with you from the Youth Truth Survey, and you will, I'm sure, see in presentations the rest of this year, next year, we'll come back to what did the Youth Truth Survey tell us. So we got to take action and do something about it.
This is the first year that elementary participated, and it starts in 3rd grade. So we had now we have 3rd through 12th graders taking it. I won't read the numbers to you, but I will draw your attention to the totals. So over 3,500 students took the survey, 800 family members, and just shy of 500 staff members. So it's a very large survey with a high participation rate.
And because we've taken it for 4 years, we can get that trend data, but middle school was the only one who's done it all 4 years. Last year with the COVID shutdown and CDL, they went ahead and did it. Elementary came on this year, and then this was the first year we separated Grants Pass High School and Gladiola High School. So this is Gladiola High School's first year. There are core themes in each area, and the top 3 are consistent across all 3 survey types. So engagement, culture, relationships. All 3 surveys ask questions that are very closely aligned, and we're going to share some of those answers with you today. For the students, they're asked questions about academic challenge, about relational belonging, about mental health. At each level, we can go a little bit deeper. So elementary got some questions on instructional methods. High school, obviously, college and career readiness. So there's a few different topics depending on the level. Families are asked about safety, communication from the school, and then what resources do we provide. And then finally, staff, the other question that's not asked in any other survey is about professional development. We are not going to be able to share all this data with you tonight. It is a lot, and we will provide documents from each one of the schools so that you can, it's a lot to dig into. And if you're looking for something specific and want our help getting there, we can help you. But we want to focus tonight's presentation on this.
On relationships. We've talked about it all year long, that coming back this year full-time after COVID, of course, we're always working on academics, but our focus this year was on reestablishing that school parent teacher relationship and relationships among peers of the kids themselves, because they didn't have full access to that before, or the last 2 years. And then with staff to staff and staff to students. So we know that that comes first. Like I said, kind of so many things dovetail, everything that was presented about the Gladiola Way, and then goes back to what I said about kindergarten. Before they can start learning the names of letters and letter sounds, they need to be able to have strong social emotional skills, and that starts with relationships with their teachers. So that's the focus, and like Trish said, there's a lot of data but that we could share with you, but what we're sharing with you today is just on those themes.
Unique to last year's survey and this year's survey was a question about how has COVID affected you? And so each group was asked, how much has the virus changed your life? What was the impact? Interesting to look across the three stakeholder types and at the three levels. And I want to draw your attention to our staff being the most highly impacted at elementary and middle school. Our students, about 50% across the board, were heavily impacted by COVID. It's on a 5-point scale from a lot to not at all. And so what the percents represent are students who scored either a 4 or a 5 when they selected their response there. So that's what the percentages represent. Then what we did was we asked, next slide, just some quotes. We're not going to read all of those to you, and I know it's pretty small up there, but just take a second and see some of those things that kids said about how COVID impacted them.
So we'll move on to the next slide. And like we said, focusing on that relationship piece, the belonging and peer collaboration. So in the elementary survey, it was a 3-point scale, right? 3-point scale, and that's different at middle school and high school. But the first question, are students friendly to you? And on the orange up there, mine's a different shade of gray, but very low percentages of no, hardly ever. So the majority of students at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade saying, yeah, students are friendly to me. And then the related question,
next slide. Oh, next slide is about middle school. Same question, most students are friendly to me. You want to draw your attention again to that orange. Those are kids who strongly disagree. What we notice in the data is kind of a slight uptick from elementary to middle to high. But at middle and high school too, you also want to pay attention to the green and the red. Those are the percent that agree or strongly agree that most students are friendly to me. Next slide. And so at the high school level, next slide, again by grade level. And so you see 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, it's really small up there on the big screen, but again, you should be looking at those orange bars. Those are strongly disagree that kids are friendly to them. And then we wanted to disaggregate by school. There's lots of ways to slice and dice this data. So you see the difference between Grants Pass High School and Gladiola High School. There's a lot you can do in a small school setting, as you heard from Mike Schunk tonight. Next slide. I skip an elementary one. No, backwards.
Yeah, so there are two pieces of data that struck, that we're sharing with you tonight that struck me the most, and this is one of them of how sad have you been feeling this week? Again, this is third, fourth, and fifth graders, and the sad all the time, which is on the far right, to even, they're very low percentages, but to have any percentage at elementary school that says I'm sad all the time is sad. I was trying to think of a better word, but so we do know that over the past few years, even pre-COVID, we were becoming more and more aware of the social emotional health of our students declining in a lot of ways. And we were seeing, again, not large percentages at elementary, but where maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, those aren't the kinds of things that we would really ever talk about or see evidence of, or if we did, it would be a real anomaly. And unfortunately, that has changed over the past few years, and then COVID exacerbated that. So seeing a little bit of an uptick, even at elementary.
So middle school's on the next slide, same kind of a question. In the last 12 months, have you ever felt sad or hopeless almost every day? And again, look to the, in this particular instance, you want to look at the blue, or the orange, sorry. Yes, the large percentage of students over the last 12 months that felt hopeless. You can disaggregate this data in a lot of different ways, and we wanted to demonstrate that for you tonight too. And this particular question really jumps, have you ever seriously considered attempting suicide? Thinking about those sad thoughts. And so the bar on the top is our non-LGBTQ plus community, and the bottom is our LGBTQ plus community. And you can see the orange is much more significant for that subpopulation. If you go to the next slide, it's the same thing for the high school, just a little bit larger of a group who have seriously considered attempting suicide in the last 12 months. Up top too, just to go back to, have you ever felt over the last 2 weeks or more that you are hopeless, impacting your activities? And look at the large percentage of students that said yes at the high school level. It's something that we as a community are very concerned about, and what can we do to help support our kids who really are struggling. Next slide.
So relationships, do you think that your teacher cares about you? And at elementary, that's very high. They feel like their teacher cares about them, and that can be attributed to a lot of things, but one of them being they have, for the most part, they have one teacher all day long. And so the opportunity for relationship building is very strong.
Next slide is middle school, same type of question. Middle school relationships. Next slide. There it is. Again, it's a 5-point scale at middle and high school. And so the none are the kids who don't feel like they have any kind of relationship, or that their teacher tries to understand them outside of school. And then the green and the orange are the percent that a moderate amount or all of their teachers care what their life is like outside of school. And then for the high school, that same question is there. How many teachers try to connect? Oh, first disaggregated, sorry, go back. Just, we wanted to show you again, we can disaggregate by race. And so you can't see the little race boxes right there, but it's an interesting way to, and again, just want you to know, there's lots of ways for us to get at the data. So when we're talking about our second language learners, or we're talking about needing to look at grade levels or schools or gender or gender identity, we can disaggregate lots of different ways. Go on to the next slide. Oh, that was high school. Yeah. Here's some comments. This is areas of strength that kids said about relationships across the grade levels. There's areas of strength. These are not my typos. I literally cut, copied, and pasted from student comments into this PowerPoint. So not my spelling or my punctuation. And then the next slide is areas for growth. Where can we improve in this whole concept of relationships and mental health? We'll provide for you all the comments that are on all of the surveys. There are literally thousands of comments to read through. Some of them very short, and some of them very long, and some of them a bunch of gibberish. So when you get them, just know you're going to see them, and I'm not going to censor them. Next slide.
Moves into, so that was all student data from the student survey, and then this is the family survey. So family relationships at elementary, again, just this one is shown by school, and just because we just wanted to show you that there's lots of different ways to look at the data. You could look at it by grade level on all of them, by school on all of them, by the sub-pops on all of them, but we just picked a variety of things so that you could see that there are choices. So this is teachers and students care about each other, and then families and teachers care about each other. And again, the majority being in the agree
That
section.
green and that red. I know you all can't see that, but trust me, that green and red is what you're looking for. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the same. I think there's one more question related to elementary. No, go on to middle school. So again, teachers and students care about each other, families and teachers care about each other, and the majority agree or strongly agree, disaggregated by school, and then finally the high school. Reason these are out of order there. Yeah, high school, there. And high school, same two questions, do they care about each other? Teachers and students, and then families and teachers. And then the last slide in this section is comments from families, both positive strengths and areas for improvement. So take a second and read some of those comments from our families. This slide is on the district website, so if you wanted to go back and reference any of it, you could. Last section.
And then are some of the questions we pulled from the family survey. So, the staff survey. So the first few are on elementary. So staff and students care about each other. And again, the agree and strongly agree, by far the majority that staff and students care about each other. The next one is staff and families care about each other. And again, strong on the agree and strongly agree. And I believe there's one more, that staff and administrators care about each other.
And then it goes on to that middle school one. Again, you're looking at the green and red. I know I keep saying that, but same three questions. Disaggregated by north and south. So the top one is staff and students care about each other, then it's staff and families care about each other, and staff and administrators care about each other. Again, we're talking about how are our relationships with each other. And finally, high school. High school, same three questions. Staff and students, staff and administrators, staff and families.
Yeah, I was just saying, following that are again some staff comments. So again, just pulled some for that highlighted what staff felt are strengths, and then some that where staff felt are areas for improvement for the district.
So that's a lot of data in a really small screen. They told me to make it bigger. I made it bigger, but obviously not bigger enough. So next time, make it bigger, Trish, so we can see it in the Zoom room. But last slide is, okay, so what are the next steps? Like I said, there's lots of different data, lots of different, Mike's presentation had the different areas that we can disaggregate out. We can dig in a lot further, but really what we need to do is share the data. Talk about it with each other, identify our strengths, our weaknesses, areas for improvement, establish priorities, and then put it into our plans, our district improvement plan, our school improvement plans. We will survey annually. It happens in March of each year. Parents are notified of it. They have access to the survey and they can opt out of the survey. So parents are well informed of the survey ahead of time and have an opportunity to opt out. But we really appreciate the feedback, and you saw we had a lot of feedback this year in this survey. So any questions from the board related to this particular truth presentation?
Gary, did you have a question? I would like your thoughts and opinions on what you, as you read through the data, what's the take-home message? What are you looking at as areas of improvement for our district? And my second part to that question is, what do we as a school board need to do to be supportive of your efforts to fix the things that need to be worked on?
I'll be really honest. It's new to elementary, and Trish just did a wonderful presentation on last Tuesday with the elementary team and myself, just even how to dig into the data because it is so rich. So I can't speak for themes yet. Trish might have a much more eloquent answer.
Well, I came at it really from the lens of what we've been talking about. And I think our kindergarten teachers did a great job. The Gladiola students and Mike did a great job. The takeaway from me in this year's survey was the mental health and wellness of our students, staff, and families. You've asked over the last couple of years how COVID has impacted us, and I think the data is really representative of the steps backwards in how we relate to each other and how we treat each other and how we accept each other. That's our area for focus. Kindergarten, what she said for kindergarten is true through 12th grade. It won't matter what we teach them. We don't meet them at the door where they're at social and emotionally and support them and love them up. It won't matter. So those relationships and really focusing on what we can do. I will tell you, met with the high school department leaders, and we were talking about grading, which you think is not really related to this, but it really is. They talked about how important those relationships are first. But one of the missing pieces for us is our parent and community support, really understanding what it is we do in the classroom and then holding their kid accountable to it at home. That's really something our students need help. If Ready for K was available through 12th grade, it'd probably be a good thing. Todd presented to the principals today. There's a new class coming out for parents about how to help students regulate. I would really encourage us to put resources towards that, to have that class available to our parents and our community. The ideas for what a parent can do at home to support their student would really then impact how they behave and perform in school as well. So that's really my takeaway is, how do we get us working as a community for this betterment of all kids?
I think the worst part of that is that sometimes that means making hard choices. We like to offer lots of different wonderful things, but there's only one pot of money and one amount of time, and instead of just adding, they're all wonderful things, but we really need help, I think, sometimes in protecting what we think are the most essential, great things that our kids need right now.
Well, I appreciate that. I think as a board member, that's what we're looking for from you as you present, is these things are important, but this is where we really need to focus our time and energy, and this is where we need to spend our money, and we need to hear that from you so that we can be supportive of that. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us, and certainly I will at least speak for myself. Then if that's what we need to do, then I would like us to move forward in that direction. If that's where we really see our biggest needs are, then let's move forward with that, and we'll continue, I hope, as a board to support you in what you're seeing on the ground, and we want to be supportive of our children. And if that's where we need to go, then let's make that happen. So, but thank you very much for your presentations. Any other comments from the board? I see Gary's got his finger on the button.
I was just going to ask that, could you send to the board a copy of the full set of comments and stuff like that from the survey?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you.
They're pretty large files, so I'm gonna have to work with, I would not be able to email it to you. I think the files would be too big. So we'll have to figure out a way, maybe in multiple sets to get it all to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we do have one community patron who would like to speak. So Judy, we'll give you 3 minutes.
Judy Ahrens, resident of Josephine County. What I'd like to speak tonight, and I want to thank you, I want to thank all the presenters tonight and what they were giving. And I think I wanted to focus tonight a little bit on this youth truth survey. Trish presented that. And I appreciate all that and the communications with the teachers and the parents and the students and the teachers, and all three connected. And I guess where I'm coming from is, building those relationships is important. I think we're leaving out one important factor as our kids are getting in with things changing so much. And I'm going to bring this up because this is part of relationship building too with the students. Because right now we're getting flooded from from Salem, from the health department, from all these edicts that are supposed to say we're supposed to teach this in the schools in Oregon. And some of it is just appalling. Some of it's appalling, it really is. I gave you a few of the list down there of some of the things that they wish that they, and it's under sexual translated diseases and everything. And I think in the health department, they're going to be, you're going to be explaining this in the classes and everything. But some of the questions I think are going to be uncomfortable. Back to that relationship with the teachers and the kids and where they feel comfortable as far as sex education, everything. Some of them, they're starting to really dwell at the very low level that you're going to be expected to teach. And I think, I think we need to go out to the parents, as long as we're communicating and having a relationship with the parents too. Are you comfortable with us teaching your kids this? Make sure you have forms and saying, this is what's going to be taught. We want to know if this is acceptable, having permission to teach sixth graders or fifth graders. And I gave you a list there. You all have a list there, thinking having sex with multiple partners without a condom and stuff. This is unacceptable for certain ages. We should, some of you say, no way. I mean, my kids, we go to church, we will be sharing this at our level that we want to our kids. We don't want to be uninformed, but we surely don't want to have it at the low level and be passing out things at the health clinic. And I really thank the people who participated and came to that that meeting I had last week, the participants at the health clinic. I want to thank you, Tricia, whoever set that up. That was really, really great. So I guess the bottom line is that as we move into all these categories, we can't just pretend sex education is not important. We can't just pretend that what age parents feel comfortable in teaching their kids, or that their kids are sensitive to what level that they're going to be understanding certain things that are getting pretty graphic coming from Salem. That's just not acceptable. Some people say, let's have it. But if we want to create a community in our schools and building relationships, we want healthy relationships. We want, hearing tonight about maybe there's more parent and student more teacher.
Judy, thank you. That's 3 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm also going to just make a comment,
Okay,
and that
sure,
is
go
that
ahead.
we allow public comment at the discretion of the board and the chairman. We ask that you speak to an item. And so this item isn't on our agenda tonight. It did indicate that as you stood up to speak. And so just let you know that if this happens again, I will not allow you to speak at our public forums. I'm very happy to have you come and speak, and we appreciate your willingness to be part of the community. But we are going to ask you to speak to items on the agenda. Well, that was not on the agenda, so.
Well, that's fine. Thank you so much. And I will make sure we'll get certain board members put things like on that could be possibly put on so the community can speak up. So thanks very much.
Well, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your comments. All right, Superintendent, we'll turn the time over to you.
Yeah, so just a quick announcement. As you know, we're shifting and continuing to build organizational capacity in the district and looking at Dr. Shunk's Gladiola Way and the great things that are happening over there, and as well as shifting with GP Flex. I'm pleased to announce that Keith Jaroslow has been selected and appointed to be the assistant principal to support Alt Ed and all things GP Flex for next year. Excited for Keith. And anyway, Keith has been with the district how long? Yep. Teacher of the Year at Grants Pass High School, voted lots of positive things by kids, has done a fantastic job for us here at the high school. Looking forward to how he'll contribute at this next phase. So.
Thank you. All right, we'll go on to 5.0, our board reports and special concerns. Number one is 5.1, our scholarship. So I have been in communication with Quinn Collins, who helps us manage the scholarships that the District 7 School Board helps provide. And with your efforts in turning in your recommendations, 5 students have been selected to receive a $500 scholarship at this upcoming, for this year. And we're very excited for them. We would like to have a board member go and present at the meeting, which I believe is the 19th of May, and she indicated that maybe Cliff would like to do that, and so I just wanted to throw that out to the board members. If everyone is okay with that, I'm also happy to go. I'm sure many of you would also like to present, and maybe if possible, we could have all 7 of the board members show up at the meeting and present to the students, but I wanted to throw that out to the board tonight for your thoughts and feelings on how we would like to present the scholarships to these fine students. So, Cliff?
Sure.
Would you like to be the voice and present to the students, or?
Well, I would certainly want to know what all 7 board members felt. I think I have a pretty good idea of what we've done in recent years with the scholarships provided by the school board as an organization. We didn't do this for years, but it was a great suggestion from Rich Ward, former member, to do this, and we took it on for him as his desire and suggestion, and we're all interested in it, and we've worked together and looked at 17 applications. They're not applications, rather they are, well, I guess they are applications, scholarship applications in the formal state. And 17 people who are valedictorians compared to some schools who have only one and one only. 17 is speaking to the excellence of our student body over the years. This has grown and grown and grown. There was a time when there was only one valedictorian and maybe a salutatorian, but this has grown because we have some very highly productive students that go through our district every year. And this number of valedictorians is growing because you can't separate some of these students and give them a ranking without looking very closely at everything that they have done while they've been here in school. I mean, these are superstars, and I don't think any other high school, they might have a few, don't think they'd have 17, which is overwhelming and very exciting. And so I love to work on it. I know Debbie has done a lot of calculating on it, and others are very interested on the board. And it doesn't mean that I have to present it. The reason that I'm asked to do presentations is I'm already going to be there. I've presented the Rotary Scholarship for the Rotary Club of Grants Pass for years. And since I'm up there at the podium, and we start a program that takes over 2 hours to go through a typical year, a program at the Performing Arts Center, which is open to the public, and all the students sit up on the stage, and that is a full stage. We have a huge, what's our graduating class, 370 some? I don't know the exact number right now, but these are big classes, these senior classes, and they're loaded with these high-producing students. And all too often, they don't get as much recognition as maybe some of the students who are not able to stay in school for their own choice, is that they can't. Some are unable to. I realize it's impossible to avoid. But the point is, I think that highlighting these extraordinary students who go on to higher education, many of them, and some of them into the workforce as well, and across the country, bring great credit onto Grants Pass High School. And we do have a reputation, and it's statewide and beyond. So I'll be there on May 19th for that presentation they call assembly, and I'm happy to pass those scholarship winners out as we display them up on the stage. They get up and they come up to the microphone, and we love to tell the audience what they've done, and it's all documented by our department in the high school that works so tirelessly on this every year. So, but there's plenty of room in the audience for any or all of the school board members, other people who are interested. And I would say you should feel it's a time of celebration. And I invite you to join me because I'm going to be there with bells on.
Okay, Gary, you had a comment?
I think Cliff would be excellent to present the scholarships on behalf of the board. He brings a wide range of experience and perspective as he hands out those awards.
Debbie?
I have been pleased to participate in this not the selection process so much as just reading about the wonderful things that our students do. From academics, taking between at least 4 to 10 AP classes, the sports they're involved with, the leadership opportunities, the helping in the community kinds of volunteer things that they do, and overcoming adversity. This year we selected students from a pillar of resilience, from academics, equity, and also leadership, design, and operations kinds of pillars. And I want to thank the board for agreeing to an 18-hour course of board development and learning about roles and responsibilities and working together. That was part of an impetus that brought us in more money this year to be able to give more scholarships. So I applaud the board in following through with that. We just finished our last hours last night.
Well, thank you. It is true, this is a scholarship that the board members contribute to and are happy to do so in order to support the students. And we did go through a lot of meetings this year in order to raise $5,000 in a scholarship to give to the students. And we're going to So anyway, it was great to work with the board in that regard and to be able to do something we hope very good with the funds. So I will be there too, Cliff. So maybe I'll just stand next to you and then we would invite all the board members if they would like. I think it would be a nice gesture to have all of the board at the podium with Cliff as he presents the awards. And so if we're there, I would ask that maybe we have the opportunity to go stand up there and congratulate these fine students. So. With that, are there any other board reports or special concerns we'd like to talk about tonight?
You go ahead.
I just want to address a thing I heard out in the community. The legislature passed a bill regarding feminine hygiene products in the restrooms, and then ODE came out with some OARs just March, month ago, I think. Some of those look like they're going to have unintended consequences that we're not sure were properly vetted. So there are provisions in state law for essentially asking for a review of those type of things. And so I've been in contact with Superintendent Kolb, and he is going to look into exactly what avenues we have to get those OERs reviewed to see if they really understood what they told us to do.
Yes, I have reached out to legal counsel and will get that information to the board promptly. So, thank you.
Debbie?
Well, I thought I'd mention I read the book Nim's Island, which is the One District One book this year, and a cute little fantasy book on stressing on resilience and independence, I thought, and kind of an amazing little book for us all to read. And then I've given a few book reports lately, and I actually got an email from a teacher saying, I love your book reports. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll mention the last book I read recently is Indian Givers by Jack Weatherford. And it has a lot of information on South America, which is a area of education that was kind of a blank for me. So it was very educational for me. And I thought it was interesting. There's a mine in Bolivia that, I don't know how to pronounce it, Potosi, made the money that irrevocably changed the economic complexion of the world. And there were a number of interesting facts like that that I highly recommend the reading of.
All right. Anything else? All right, we will move on then to 6.0. We have first readings of amended policies and ARs. I don't know from the board's perspective if we would like to entertain a motion to approve all of them or if we want to talk about some of these, but I will entertain a motion to approve.
Member DeGrange moves to approve 6.1.1, policy IB.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Are we doing all of them? I didn't quite.
We just did the first one, so we'll take them in order, I guess.
Well, my comment was just going to be that there's quite a stack, and just got them on Friday, and I haven't really had time to go through them. This is only the first reading, but we used to do first, second, and then a final Lately, we've been doing first and second as the final. Is it possible we could?
Yeah, we've been doing that for about 4 years.
Okay.
So, it is possible. It's at the board's discretion on how many readings you want to give a policy. You can give 10 if you want, Gary. So we did scale that back as we felt 4 weeks of policy review when putting together 2 board meetings was sufficient for the board. If we want to extend that, we can.
Yeah, this was just quite a stack, so I guess I'm asking almost what I'd be asking at the next meeting, which is, I didn't make it through.
Well, it is the first reading, so we'll give you 10 readings if you need, Gary. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further comments? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll entertain a motion to approve 6.1.2, if we're going to take them all individually, or would we like to make a motion to approve all of them?
What do you think?
Well, I've read them through a couple times, so I would move that we approve 6.1.2 through 7.
Is that all of the rest? I would second the motion to see if the board is ready to do all those at once.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments?
We were at one point putting recommended or required next to them, and I don't see those.
You are correct. That was an oversight.
So can we have that for the second reading then? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for pointing that out. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes? Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. Yes.
Opposed.
Oh. Okay, thanks, Brian. One in opposition. So 6 in favor, 1 against. Thank you. Our future meeting dates then, our Valsal lunch is May 13th at 11:30 a.m. or is it p.m.? Okay. I was going to say that's a great lunchtime. May 24th will be our next board meeting. June 8th is the Gladiola High School graduation. GP Flex graduation is June 10th, as is GPHS graduation, and I would just put on there the 19th of May is the scholarship night, and that's at 7 p.m.?
6:30.
Thank you, Cliff.
That's a change from previous years.
Okay.
To get started earlier, it's a
6:30.
long program.
All right. So with that, then, we will adjourn our general session. Thank you very much. We'll thank you for coming. We will have an executive session here in 5 minutes.